Hey there, welcome to Synth Seeker. My name is Luke. So it's Music Making Diary number 8. And if you've been following along, you'll know that I was working on a track. It was completely in the box. And I was considering replacing some of the VST-based instruments with hardware instruments. And in Diary number 7, I sort of made the decision that while that's possible, I'm emotionally attached to what I had already done with the VSTs. So I'm leaving that. And I will finish that track, but I've put it on hold because I have just this extreme desire to play with hardware lately. Picked up a K-2 a week or so ago and really, really like it. And so I wanted to do some more with that. And so tonight I'm really just doing sound design. And I've got 3 synths here. I've got a K-2, I've got a Korg Modwave, and I've got a Modwave 2, which interestingly, people have said that some synths, and I'm not going to say which because it varies from person to person, but people say, oh, that synth is hard to fit into a mix with other synths. And I have not experienced that personally, although I'm not the world's greatest producer as far as what makes a mix good. But I like the music I release, and so that's good enough for me. I generally like, I know what I hear. I have a sense of taste. And so I've been fiddling around, doing sound design on the K2, and then playing around with the Modwave, tweaking a preset here and there, and then playing with things in the Wave 2 as well. And I've got some sounds here that don't really necessarily go together when you hear them in isolation. And so what I've been doing tonight is playing with effects to apply to these sounds to make them fit together, because that's one way to do it. I will take reverb and modulation effects and delays and things like that. I'm working in this sort of Berlin School cinematic space, and I can use effects to glue these things together. And so all this video is going to be is I just wanted to show you what I start with as a timbre that's coming out of the synth, some effects that I pile on top of it, and how they sort of fit together. And you may disagree with me and you're like, no, that sounds like crap. But hey, that's okay. Leave those comments. It's not a big deal. I'm happy with what I've achieved tonight. And all I've done really, I haven't been doing any composing. I've been doing sound design I've been doing a little sound design, certainly on the K2, dialing in some stuff. But really what I've been doing is palette selection. I've been picking sounds that I think go well together and then applying effects to them in Ableton that make them blend a little bit better. So I just want to show you. So what we have here is we've got this K2. And I'm going to turn everything off. Okay. And I do things that, in my reading is, canonically wrong from a production standpoint. I'm stacking reverbs and things like that, which is generally considered a bad thing. But this is the timbre I'm working with the K2. Okay. I did a video that was like, your synth sucks, now what? Right? And it was about what you do when you get a synth, when you start using a synth and you're a little underwhelmed by its sound. That, as far as patches go, as a bare patch from the K2, not great. It's not exciting. Let's put it that way. It's like, if you're going through a bank of presets or a sample library or something like that on a synth and you run across this one, you're probably just going to move on. But just hang on there, because there's some interesting stuff going on with that little pluck. There's a real buzzy, resonant sort of envelope of that early attack there. Not the attack, the decay off of the sharp attack. There's some buzz in there, okay? And that buzz can be useful when you apply delay to it, but also when you have reverbs, especially those big black hole style reverbs. They're real sensitive to short transients of high frequencies. And that pluck has a really sharp high frequency transient in it. It's a real like a tick almost. So I want to show you what happens to this sound once you start applying things to it. So I like to apply some room ambience. Okay, so I'm just using a stock Ableton reverb. Okay, the little one, the not fancy one that's zero, like almost zero CPU. Okay, so now we've placed it in a room. All right, and then I'm going to stack a bunch of reverbs on top of that. I'm going to put, I've got sort of a stage-based reverb. All right. And then I'm going to actually stack this is a more creative reverb. This is a creative ambience plugin from Native Instruments called Realm. And then we're going to go. It's like a slapback, a smeared slapback. And then I'm going to apply a delay to it. Specifically this Replica XT delay. There is a preset in it that I like called Images of Goa. And I'm not making trance here. All right. But when we apply that, so that's interesting, right? That I can use that. Now if we turn on our arpeggiator and let's play a little chord here. It's just a D minor. Actually, this is a D minor sus2. It's D. It's D, E, F, A with also a low D and an A. So. And that, for me, is a Berlin School bed in one chord. Let's turn these off. So we started with that, okay? Not exciting. Give it some ambience. Give it a little stage ambience. Give it some slapback. And then lay in the delay. All right? All right, so that's one voice that I've got for this piece, and I'm not composing anything. I'm just selecting sounds, and I've saved these. Right, I can't save presets on the K-2, but I can not touch it. Right, but the rest of this, the effects and stuff, I'll save in the set, and that'll be fine. And now the next sort of sound that I'm working on is out of the Modwave. Okay, so if you haven't tried the Korg Trinity, the Modwave, the Wave State, and the Op6, I really like these synths. They're quirky, and they're definitely in a class by themselves. And I was offended by them initially because they run off a Raspberry Pi sort of system, like a Raspberry Pi compute engine in there, which is dirt cheap. So I don't know, why they cost so much, and I don't understand the costs around synthesizer production. So they may be perfectly valid in charging what they charge for the synth. It's not crazy expensive, but it's more than a couple $100. But I really love these sound engines, and you can get them as VSTs as well. But an acquaintance on Discord basically advocates a lot of Korg synths at me. Hey, Garen. And they grew on me, and I had a chance to get some inexpensive used hardware, and that's what I did. So this is coming out of a Modwave in the rack behind me, and I think they're beautiful. What is that? That's actually just a canned preset called Speckled Layers. And I'm then dump a big ass black hole style reverb on it. Right? And this is an old reverb. This is from a company called Audio Damage that I've always liked their stuff. This reverb's called EOS 2. And the reason I have this VST is because way back in the day, 10 years ago, you could get the Audio Damage effects like EOS, the first one. in hardware for modular, for Eurorack modular. And that was one of my first reverbs I ever got, was this EOS reverb. I don't remember if it was called EOS, but it was the EOS algorithm in hardware, in this audio damage module. It's a pity they don't make those anymore, but they updated the VST, and I love this reverb. It's great. Just let that ring out. Love it. Anyway, but I think that particular timbre with that reverb on it glues well together with the K-2 stuff. All right. And then lastly, I'm using a Modwave 2. And again, there is one of the things that I'm really enjoying about having this big ass controller in front of me. Like, I was using grids. Someone said, hey, I went through some of your back catalog of videos for Synth Seeker, and I don't think I've ever actually seen you use a keyboard. And I think he's right. I've used a grid since almost day one, but I'm taking a break from grids for a month or two just to force myself to play more keys. But also, one of the things that one of the limitations of a grid is the actual range in octaves is only about 3.5 octaves on a grid, on an 8x8 grid. And one of the things I remember from from my childhood playing with synths was being able to take a patch and see what happens to it when you move way out to the edges, right? I think my hands are outside the range of the camera, right? But if you go to the extreme octaves, extremely high, extremely low, sometimes you find these sort of hidden things. And on the Nord, there's this patch. What's it called? It's called Mercurial Lead. And it sounds like this. And if you take this lead and you move it to an extremely low register, it turns into a really crazy, like, tuba-like bass. Which by itself, it sounds like it's breaking up a little bit. But then I apply some reverbs to it to help smear out some of that sort of broken up feel. And we get... It's still a synth, right? It's definitely a synth. I'm going for synth sounds, but it's got this sort of tuba-like, sousaphone-y kind of... And that's just by adding a little room ambience and a little stage ambience to it. And then when I take these things, and then what I do is I spend my time playing them, getting them layered on top of each other and just sort of playing. So I'm going to start the K2 arpeggiation up, and I'm going to play with these other two sounds over top of it. And you'll see what I mean. So let's go back. And here we go. And let's get this running. All right, let's play with our tuba here. All right, that works for me. Let's go back to our other sound here. So that's it. This is Diary 8. I'm just sharing with you guys not so much sound design as much as sound coalescing, right? Picking a palette. You can take sounds like the K-2, real dry, that's just not exciting, and then process the hell out of it to get something really interesting. And you can also take sounds that are intended for one thing, like this lead, this take this lead and go experiment with it down in the lower registers, or, take a bass and play it up high and just see. You can end up with something really powerful. And then, as far as the Modwave is concerned, go for some of the quirky stuff and just, process it a bit in the box. It's a lot like the video about the Micro Freak, right? Micro Freak did not excite me when I brought it home. But after messing around and processing it, it turned into something I really enjoy. And that's what's happening with these Korg synths as well. So. All right. And I think that's it for now. So this was a diary that came real fast because I'm actually playing. I'm really just playing around with synth sounds this week. But I'm having a good time with it, and I hope that was entertaining for you, or at least interesting sounding. And thanks for spending time with me. And I'll get another diary out this weekend, probably with some actual composition. I'm going to start working on track 2 in hardware, or I feel a little guilty. I may go put a little more effort into finishing track 1. It will get finished eventually, but I don't want to polish it too much because I want to maintain some coherency between the different tracks. So, hey, that's it. Thanks for spending time. Appreciate it. You've been watching Synth Seeker. Have a great week.